Dontaesboxingnation, what's going on, guys? So, Floyd Mayweather apparently had so much fun in the ring with Marcos Maidana that it seems he's already talking about announcing his next opponent within the next 2 weeks. Now, Leonard Ellerbe, he just recently did an interview with Dan Raphael of ESPN. Here's what he said. We're looking at opponents right now. In the next 2 weeks, we'll have that part figured out. Maidana is definitely in the mix. There's a long list of opponents. If Amir Khan wants to fight Floyd Mayweather, we're fighting on September 13th. Porter and Thurman would really be good, but they'll likely not make the cut this time around. They still need a couple more fights under their belts against good opposition with a name. Thus far, Porter and Thurman haven't faced anyone that you can call a really good welterweight. Porter recently beat Paulie Malignaggi, but he's an old lion without much power to speak of. Beating him isn't nearly enough to get a fight against Mayweather. Danny Garcia is the perfect opponent for Mayweather. He's popular, unbeaten, and the best fighter in his division. Mayweather vs. Garcia would be an excellent fight, and it would give Mayweather an unbeaten opponent with a good rep for him to fight. Khan is hurting himself right now because of the restrictions that he has for when he fights. Because of his religious beliefs, he does something called a Ramadan, which would coincidentally be around the same time that Mayweather has his next fight in September. Maidana deserves a rematch, but the problem is it's about money. If Mayweather's fight against Maidana fails to bring in the pay-per-view numbers for their May 3rd fight, then Maidana will likely be skipped over for a bigger name. End quote. Now, I want to tell you, Leonard Ellerbe, he said a lot just in that little piece that I just read you guys. And I'm going to try to touch on every single thing that he talked about. Let's first start with Danny Garcia. Now, if you listen to everything that Leonard Ellerbe said, it would slightly suggest that Team Mayweather is leaning towards Danny Garcia as a possible opponent, right? They're talking about Danny Garcia being another undefeated fighter. He's at the top of his game, so on and so forth. Now, let me tell you guys what I think about that fight. I think that would be an excellent fight, an excellent matchup. That would look terrific on Floyd Mayweather's resume to fight another undefeated champion who's at the top of his game right now. It would also be great for Danny Garcia to put that on his resume, depending on how he performs. Obviously, if he pulls off the upset, it would really look good, not just on his resume, but in terms of him building his own legacy, of course, right? But going back to Floyd Mayweather, once again, we have never seen a fighter, I don't care what era you're talking about, we've never seen a fighter in his late 30s, closer to 40 than he is to 30, fighting against young, hungry, undefeated champions back to back to back to back. If you guys look at Floyd Mayweather's last, 6, 7 opponents, all of them, almost all of them have been prime champions, and the majority of them were coming off of their biggest wins when they fought against Floyd Mayweather. So, when it comes to Floyd Mayweather, Floyd is always trying to push the envelope. He is always challenging himself. I mean, it's impressive to win any fights when you're closer to 40 years old, okay? But when you are fighting against young, hungry, undefeated lions and champions, that speaks volumes in contrast to any other historical great fighter that you can think of. It is a very hard act to follow, realistically, guys. So that's one possible opponent that Floyd Mayweather could be fighting in September, Danny Swift Garcia. One more thing about Danny Swift Garcia, it's hard for me to even believe that Danny Garcia himself would even take that fight, because I know that Danny Garcia and his father, they look up to Floyd Mayweather. They look up to Floyd Mayweather. They really, really respect the man. So, like I said, there was times before where they asked Danny Garcia, are you going to fight Floyd Mayweather? And he was like, look, man, I'm not trying to chase Floyd Mayweather. I want to build my own legacy. He already has his legacy. I want to build my own legacy. In other words, he was saying, let Floyd Mayweather do him, and I'm going to do me. let's stay in our own separate lanes. That's what Danny Garcia was suggesting, right? But now there's so much pressure on him fighting against Floyd Mayweather. It'll be really interesting to see if he just takes the fight. I truly believe Danny Garcia, he could possibly turn down the fight if it's offered to him. And I don't know if that would be the best idea for Danny Garcia to take the fight or not. We'll just have to see what happens in the future. Okay, moving on. Another two fighters that were mentioned was Shawn Porter and Keith Thurman. Now, what I thought was interesting is Leonard Ellerbe, he said that those would be some good fights, but they're not quite ready right now. To me, that tells me that Floyd Mayweather, he does want to fight one of these guys eventually, but he wants the fight to make sense. He wants the fight to generate the biggest pay-per-view revenue that could possibly be generated. And we know right now that would not be the case. Realistically, the only people that know Shawn Porter and Keith Thurman are diehard fans. They would have to be on that level to where almost everyone knows them, okay? No matter what we think about Amir Khan as an opponent, truth be told, he is a well-known opponent in contrast to Shawn Porter and Keith Thurman. So once again, like I've told you guys before, I don't know if Shawn Porter and Keith Thurman, if they can't get any more of the top welterweights in the ring with them, they may actually just have to fight against each other. And then the winner of that fight should basically be guaranteed a fight against Floyd Mayweather. Okay? Moving on. So then Leonard Ellerbe, he talked about Amir Khan. Now, the Amir Khan situation is a little dicey because Amir Khan, he has what I guess they call a Ramadan as part of his Muslim religion, and that's in the month of September. Because of that, he may not be available to fight Floyd Mayweather in September, unless he just goes completely against his religion, which I don't think he'll do. Okay, so last but not least, then Floyd Mayweather, or Leonard Ellerbe, I should say, he brings up Marcos Maidana. Now, this is where it gets very interesting because of what Leonard Ellerbe said. He said that Marcos Maidana, he deserves a rematch. But if the pay-per-view numbers don't tally up to what was projected or expected, then we have to fight a guy with a bigger name. Now, if you guys watched my radio show, the last show that I did last week, I talked about Floyd Mayweather's possible numbers not exceeding 1 million pay-per-views. I talked about it already, so for people saying, oh, how come you ain't talked about it, you should have watched the damn show and you would have heard me talk about it. All right? Now, before I go any further, I'm hearing rumors that the pay-per-view numbers between Mayweather and Maidana, some people were saying they were way past 1 million. Some people were saying it was 800 to 900,000. And then you have people saying usually if the pay-per-view numbers are fantastic, we hear about the pay-per-view numbers within like the first 4 to 5 days. Like we heard about the Mayweather versus Canelo numbers right away. And if you don't hear about the numbers, that usually suggests those numbers did not do as well as expected. Now, at this point, we really don't know what the numbers are officially because when Manny Pacquiao versus Bradley numbers came out, you know, those numbers were on all of the websites. But so far, I haven't seen any numbers for the Mayweather versus Maidana fight. But let's just look at the worst case scenario right now and say that those numbers fell below 1 million pay-per-views. If that's true, the good news for Floyd Mayweather is he's still going to generate anywhere from $40 to $70 million just for one fight, which explains why they call him Floyd Money Mayweather, okay? Which is the same thing I said in my radio show last week. Now, that would be the good news. He will still be considered the highest paid athlete in the world, and he still signed one of the largest sports contracts with Showtime in the history of all sports. Okay, so that's the good news. Now, the bad news for Floyd Mayweather is if you had Adrian Broner, Amir Khan on your undercard and you still didn't crack 1 million pay-per-views fighting against Marcos Maidana, then that is definitely somewhat of a disappointment. No doubt about it. All right? Now, you know what's interesting about this is I talked about this on my radio show. I told you I have a friend who's, a Mayweather hater. He can't stand Floyd Mayweather. He'll never just come out and flat out say it, but he's very, similar to a lot of the detractors on YouTube that post comments. So anyway, I remember him telling me when he heard about this fight. See, he's a casual fan, though. He doesn't, that's how most of them are. He doesn't follow the sport like some of us diehard fans do. But of course, he knows who Floyd Mayweather is, and he knows that he doesn't like Floyd Mayweather. But anyway, when he found out that Floyd was fighting against Marcos Maidana, he didn't, first of all, he didn't even really know a whole lot about Marcos Maidana, but he did know that Maidana beat Adrian Broner. And he said to me, Dante, answer this question. Why would anybody want to watch Floyd Mayweather fight this guy, Marcos Maidana, when everyone knows that Floyd Mayweather is going to win the fight easy? This is pretty much a guaranteed win for Floyd Mayweather, right? And I tried to explain to him, you never know what's going to happen in the sport of boxing, man. When you got two people with the same ounce gloves on, you just never know. All it takes is a punch. Somebody could be knocked out. Look at what happened with Tyson, versus Douglas, so on and so forth. That's how I made my point. And basically, my point was proven because Maidana, who was supposed to be one of Mayweather's easiest opponents, according to the public perception, actually gave Floyd Mayweather probably his toughest fight in decades. Now, even though I proved my point of anything happening in the ring, at the same time, my friend, he has a very good point. He has a very good point because now I'm starting to think, after looking at what the projected numbers just may be, the perception now is Floyd Mayweather's skill, his ability, him being such a great, flawless fighter, it may turn out to be his undoing, his ruination when it comes to the pay-per-view numbers in the future. Because what my friend basically said was, we want to see Floyd Mayweather lose. We want to believe that the guy who's in the ring with Floyd Mayweather has a very good chance of beating him. The haters are basically saying, if we know that Floyd Mayweather is going to win this fight, we are going to stop paying for it. Now, don't get me wrong. The fact that Floyd Mayweather still holds all of the highest pay-per-view records for pay-per-view buys still suggests that he's on top because he holds all the records. It's no different than Usain Bolt. If he already broke the record, right? And then when he races, he does a couple more track meets and he beats everyone like he always does, but he doesn't break his own record. You can't really say anything bad about him, right? Because he's only trying to beat his record. It's not like he's trying to beat some other guy's record. So you know what? Before I go too far, let me go back to when I told you guys that Floyd Mayweather is always pushing the envelope. Floyd Mayweather is always trying to challenge himself. When Floyd Mayweather fought against Robert Ghost Guerrero, Floyd Mayweather's pay-per-view numbers wasn't as high as they expected. They said it was right below 1 million pay-per-views. Some people say it was like 1 million. Some people say it was right below. But regardless, they expected the numbers to be higher. Okay? So what Floyd Mayweather did, once he seen the numbers weren't where they wanted them to be, he said, you know what, let's go ahead and let's fight Canelo. We all know that that's going to be a big fight. You have an albino Mexican with red hair that people are in love with. They're trying to make him the new Oscar De La Hoya against Floyd Mayweather, the biggest star in the sport. It makes sense. Floyd Mayweather says, let's go ahead and do it. They break records with the pay-per-view sales. So now Floyd Mayweather is in the same situation he was in after he faced Robert Guerrero, which is if these numbers are low, now once again Floyd Mayweather is willing to challenge himself and try to fight the best opponent out available for him that would generate the biggest pay-per-view buys. But see, the problem is when it comes to Danny Garcia, I don't believe that those numbers are going to be that much different than these Maidana numbers either. And I'll tell you why. First off, number one, Danny Garcia is a Puerto Rican fighter, but he does not have a Puerto Rican fan base like a Miguel Cotto, like a Felix Trinidad. He doesn't have that type of Puerto Rican fan base, which would have helped generate a higher pay-per-view buy. Okay? He just doesn't have it. He keeps trying his best to, tell the Puerto Ricans he's Puerto Rican, and, they're just not buying it. They're just not buying it. They want a guy, they're used to the guy who could barely speak English, like Cotto in Trinidad, who damn near speaks nothing but Spanish, who lives in Puerto Rico. Those are the type of Puerto Ricans that a lot of fans, they want to follow. Okay? So because of that, that's one reason why the Danny Garcia fight probably wouldn't generate that much more pay-per-view buys. All right? Another reason why the Danny Garcia fight probably won't generate a whole lot of buys is because Danny Garcia just came off of a poor performance against Mauricio Herrera. See, people understand, even the people who hate Floyd Mayweather, they look at Floyd Mayweather like Superman, okay? They feel, you have to be so great that all of your attributes and abilities have to be damn near flawless. You have to have speed that can match Floyd Mayweather. You have to be stronger than Floyd Mayweather, far stronger than him. Not strong as, you have to be far more stronger than him. Then you got to have a great chin. You got to be this. You got to be that. You have to be perfect in every single category for detractors to even consider this guy a worthy opponent for Floyd Mayweather, which once again praises how good even they think Floyd Mayweather is, or they believe Floyd Mayweather is, right? So when it comes to Danny Garcia, like I said, he just struggled against Mauricio Herrera. And not only did he struggle against Mauricio Herrera, but he's moving up in weight. Once again, a lot of haters who can't stand Floyd Mayweather, they believe the guy that's going to beat Floyd Mayweather is going to be 20, 30 pounds bigger than Floyd Mayweather, 10 times stronger than Floyd Mayweather, and then they'll believe that that guy has a chance of beating Floyd. Any guy who's naturally smaller than Floyd Mayweather, detractors are not going to believe that he has a chance. That's just the way they look at it. They look at everything, they're looking at numbers. They're always focused more on numbers than actual ability. All right? And the main number they're focusing on is the power gauge number. So in other words, I don't believe Mayweather versus Danny Garcia pay-per-view numbers would far exceed the Maidana numbers. I think it'll be somewhere around 1 million. It may be even a little less. Because once again, a lot of haters, they actually believe that Floyd Mayweather is so great of a fighter that undefeated great fighters like Danny Garcia doesn't even have a chance against Floyd Mayweather. Doesn't that say a lot, guys? Once again, we know that fighters like Pacquiao, fighters like Juan Marquez, they would be in no hurry to fight a Danny Garcia. We already know this to be the case. Especially not Juan Marquez, right? We seen who he just fought. And once again, if you put Pacquiao or Juan Marquez against Danny Garcia, we're looking at a 50-50 fight. And from the comments that I receive all the time, some fans, they wouldn't even want to see their favorite fighter, Marquez Pacquiao, get in the ring with a Danny Garcia in fear of their favorite fighter losing to Danny Garcia. So once again, the point is, Floyd Mayweather is on such a high level that detractors feel only Floyd Mayweather could go in there right now with Danny Garcia and it would be considered an easy fight. Okay? Well, you know what? Let me retract that. There's a couple people, especially at the welterweight division, when it comes to Danny Garcia. I think Keith Thurman would really give Danny Garcia a lot of problems. And he probably might be one of the only other fighters that would probably beat Danny Garcia easy and surprise a lot of people. But outside of them, I don't really see anyone else, being favored to beat Danny Garcia very easy. Okay? So once again, Floyd Mayweather, he has somewhat of a dilemma. Floyd Mayweather is so skilled. He is so superior to any fighter on the planet right now that no one believes anyone can beat the guy. All right? And that becomes a small problem for Floyd Mayweather because a lot of detractors, they want to see an opponent that they truly believe has a chance of beating Floyd Mayweather. Now, that's not Floyd Mayweather's fault at all, right? I mean, if he's so damn good that they can't find anyone to believe that they can beat Floyd Mayweather, that's not Floyd's problem. Now, this would seem to make all the sense in the world to me. This would seem to me to be the perfect time for Floyd Mayweather to fight Manny Pacquiao. I already know that it's probably not going to, it's most likely not going to happen because of the promotional situation. Manny Pacquiao, once again, if he really wanted this fight, Manny Pacquiao could step aside and he could go ahead and fight Floyd Mayweather, try to give Bob Arum some side money. Once he gets done with that business, go back to Bob Arum because Bob Arum is always going to have his arms wide open waiting for his cow, Manny Pacquiao, to come back home to the damn ranch. Okay? So the last time Floyd Mayweather didn't generate the numbers he expected to generate against Guerrero, his next fight was against Canelo. And that fight broke records financially. This would be the perfect time for him to do the same thing. Get in the ring with Manny Pacquiao and break all of the records. But that's probably not going to happen. Right now, Manny Pacquiao is already fishing for another opponent. It's most likely going to be either a fifth fight with Marquez that nobody wants to watch. I mean, I understand it's a great chance of revenge for Manny Pacquiao, but it's the same damn story over and over and over again. Even if Manny Pacquiao comes back and knocks out Marquez, then it would seem to only be fitting to just keep the series going, right? Now Marquez needs to get revenge. Oh, now Pacquiao needs to get revenge from that loss. And they go back and forth, back and forth. It's ridiculous and it's comical. All right? It's ridiculous and comical when you think of all the great welterweights that are in the division right now. And these guys are going to fight 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Okay? So it makes more sense to me that Floyd and Manny Pacquiao, they get in the ring right now, but that's probably not going to happen. Financially for Floyd Mayweather, it would make all the sense in the world. Financially for Manny Pacquiao, it would make all the sense in the world for him to step aside. And once again, give Bob Arum some side money and take care of your business. That's what Manny Pacquiao should do. He's not going to do that. So this situation with Mayweather's pay-per-view numbers probably not being as good as he expected, this may be a good thing for the fans. Because, once again, Mayweather is that type of fighter. He's that rare type of fighter that wants to succeed financially as much as he wants to succeed when it comes to legendary status. Only a fighter like Floyd Mayweather will say, oh, well, this fight, the numbers are not that good? Okay, well, give me Canelo. You know, I'll take him. I know those will be good numbers. So Floyd Mayweather, he may do that again in the future. But there's only one fighter that I could really think of when it comes to Floyd Mayweather generating serious numbers, and that's against Manny Pacquiao. I mean, Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, they're not ready to generate those kind of numbers. I don't believe Danny Garcia can generate those numbers. I don't even believe Amir Khan can generate those kind of numbers. Floyd Mayweather may just have to settle for having all of the pay-per-view records in the history of pay-per-view boxing and just settle for that and just continue to win and build onto his legacy. Okay? So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what decision Team Mayweather makes. Like I said, right now they're making it sound like they're leaning towards Danny Garcia. I'm not sure if Danny Garcia takes that fight. He might not be ready for it. He may not feel like he's ready for that fight. Or it could be Amir Khan. Maybe Amir Khan goes against his religion for all we know. Or maybe it could be Marcos Maidana, even if the pay-per-view numbers weren't there. Just like Ranger said on my last show, it could be a possibility because the first fight was so close, that's going to draw a lot of suspense and expectations of what would possibly happen in a rematch. Okay? So that's pretty much all I got to say, guys. I'm on to the next one.